Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Ministers present, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Police, Honorable MECs present, members of Parliament, heads of entities with the Ministry, distinguished guests, National Commissioner and all senior police, ladies and gentlemen. Tumamina greetings to all honorable members of the House and fellow South Africans. The year 2018 demands a dedicated and more meaningful emphasis to what informs our fundamental existence as a police service towards the successful delivery of our constitutional mandate as stipulated in the Section 205 of the Constitution, which reads, I quote, Section 205, sub 3 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa directs that the South African Police Service must prevent, combat, and investigate crime, maintain public order, protect and secure the inhabitants of the Republic and their property, and to uphold and enforce the law, unquote. Chairperson, in the line with the mandate of our government, it is imperative to dedicate this budget vote speech to honor all women and children who have been the victims of gender-based violence. The theme, safety of women, children, and vulnerable groups, is the brighter future of South Africa. This inhuman scourge is fiercely eating the moral fiber in our society and is belittling the dignity of Inzalabantu yezwe lakithi. The time to say never again is now. We say this is a befitting commemoration to the centenary celebration of former President Nelson Mandela and Mama Albertina Sisulu. Former President Nelson Mandela once said in his book, Long Walk to Freedom, I quote, as a tribute to the legends of women who navigated the path of fighting for justice before us, we ought to imprint in the supreme law of the land firm principles upholding the rights of women. The women themselves and the whole of society must make this a prime responsibility. Domestic violence, rape, abuse of women remain disgraceful blots of the reputation of the country that is called a mirror nation. I have never regarded women as in any way less competent than men, unquote. Chairperson, we reaffirm our commitment to a vision of the society where women and children will be able to enjoy all their liberties as enshrined in the Constitution, wherein they will be able to walk freely without any fear of being confronted with possibilities of being murdered, raped, and assaulted. Chairperson, we have invited some of the families members of the victims of crimes against women and children and vulnerable groups. They are up there at the gallery. They're at the gallery, Chairperson. We are calling for a partnership with all the sectors of our society to fight the scourge of violence against women and children. We also have invited the ambassadors of the Department of Police who are serving as force multiplier in spreading the message against this scourge. Any type of crime is a priority of the South African Police Service. However, this year, we will prioritize and intensify the fight against crimes against women and children and vulnerable groups. This implies that crimes against women and children and vulnerable groups, such as the elderly, people with disability, people with the albinism condition, and lesbians, bisexual, transgender, and intersex, which is LGBTI, people will be treated as priority crimes. The scourge of violence against these groups cannot and will not be tolerated, and civil society and communities must stand as one together with the police to root out these crimes. In addition, I have directed the police to address the incidents of drug and substance abuse. As a driver of crimes against women and children and vulnerable groups, cybercrime affects every single person in South Africa, irrespective of their economic or social status. More will be done to improve the prevention of cybercrime, but specifically the police ability to investigate these crimes once reported. The recent spike in banking and cash-in-transit crime is a cause for concern. This category of crime, like many other, impacts directly on the economy of the country, and the perpetrators will not be allowed to act at will, plundering cash resources which fuel the economy. The recent increase in violent public protests places the lives of citizens in danger and threatens the stability of the communities. The police are frequently required to react to violent public protests as a result of factors beyond their control. This is no doubt requires a greater commitment to service delivery, but also requires the police to act with professional constraint. The illicit economy is draining valuable resources away from the state and its citizens. The combating of crime in this space will be prioritized during 2018-2019, including illicit mining and the various methods of grand-scale tax evasion, such as the trade in illegal and cigarettes. Given the identification of 2018-2019 as being the year of women, children, and vulnerable groups as victims of crime, the Family Violence, Child Protection, and Sexual Offences Investigation Service becomes extraordinarily important. There are currently 183 FCS units, which creates a specialized investigation environment to deal with gender-based violence, crimes including sexual offenses, with a focus of serial rape-related cases, child pornotography, and crime facilitated by electronic media. Furthermore, the police has established 1,047 dedicated victim-friendly facilities at police stations countrywide to accommodate and assist victims. The positive impact that the establishment of these dedicated units have its evident in the recent conviction of Mr. Matswe, who killed Karabo Mkwena. The accused was sentenced to 32 years imprisonment by the South Gauteng High Court. Chairperson, the primary victim of drugs and substance abuse are invariably those who are most vulnerable in our society, including women, children, and elderly. During 2018-2019, police will focus on 3 levels of drug value chain, which are international and domestic organized crime drug syndicates, drug manufacturers, drug cultivation, those like your cannabis and your nzangwe and your dacha and all that. Same thing. Increased illicit drug use and alcohol consumption are some of the main contributors to the perpetration of violent crime. The numerous and significant illicit drug seizures by authorities at the international airport and at ports of entry point to South Africa being considered a lucrative market for international drug syndicate. Chairperson, allow me to thank my predecessor, the former Minister of Police, Mr. Fikile Mbalule, the Razzmatazz himself, for stabilizing the crime with Oaru Tambo International Airport. We will continue with the strengthening of the multidisciplinary approach in the responding by threat of the safety of our economy and our inhabitants. The increase in the incidence of the trio crimes, which comprise car hijacking, house robbery, and business robbery, has prompted the police to adopt an aggressive approach towards the prevention, combating, and investigation of these crimes. A national trio crimes task team was officially established to ensure an integrated and coordinated approach to these crimes. The task team developed the National Trio Crimes Action Plan to address the trio crimes and aggravated robberies in the top 20 trio crime clusters, with effect from the 1st April 2017. As of the implementation of this action plan, the police is working closely with partners in the security, banking, and transport industries. In addition, The top 20 clusters in the country have been allocated additional resources, including response vehicles and additional funding for overtime. All 9 provinces have established investigation teams that focus primarily on the investigation of serious crimes. The National Prosecuting Authority has committed dedicated prosecutors to guide police investigation and prosecute identified suspects. During 2017-2018 financial year, the police, in conjunction with the NPA, achieved 360 guilty verdicts for car hijacking, 1,064 for house robberies, and 635 for business robberies. In addition, in a total of 42 cases, 46 sentences were handed down to the convicted one. There's taxi violence. Chairperson, we are in process of overhauling crime intelligence. No, this is a big question. Regular threat assessment relating to the public transport industry will be conducted, thereby enabling the police to proactively act on the information relating to any early warning in the taxi industry. There is a need to enhance cooperation with the Department of Transport to ensure the proper regulation of the industry. The increase in the number of public demonstrations, which attracted media attention globally, as well as the finding of the Fadam Commission, necessitated urgent intervention and a holistic approach to address the challenge experienced with public order policing. For the period 1st April 2017, 31st December 2017, a total number of 10,711 crowd-related incidents were responded to and successfully stabilized, including 8,133 peaceful crowd-related incidents and 2,578 unrest-related incidents. Chairperson, we call upon our sister departments to ensure that this service delivery process are avoided through other means rather than those which end up in being crime. This also puts strain in both our human and physical resources, which are redirected to address crime caused by service delivery. Organized crime. Chairperson, the evolving nature of the organized crime and the rapidly changing nature of the information and communication technology, which organized crime syndicates use to advance the criminal activities, negatively impact on the overall stability and economy of the country, general perception of safety and security, and the ability of the police to prevent, combat, and investigate these types of serious crime. It is therefore become imperative for the police to establish an effective approach for the identification and analysis of the organized crime threats impacting on the country. Policing is without doubt a labor-intensive exercise, but must be done to improve police visibility as one of the primary deterrents of the perpetration of crime. Police visibility comprises a number of dimensions, including police officers, marked police vehicles, and police contact points, such as police stations and mobile contact points. I have also directed that the police to reactivate, enhance the blue light campaign, especially during the peak hours, afternoons, and in the evenings, so that the country must just be blue, and so everybody can see that we are there. Yes. I know blue law. Chairperson will be capacitating. Chairperson, we will be capacitating, revitalizing, and enhancing the capacities of the police technical response team, AmaBharat, as well as tracking teams through resources and skills development. We'll be training 154 technical response teams. Members of 34 will be deployed in Ngobo and 120 to be deployed around Khayelitsha, Nyanga, and Mitchells Plain. Chairperson, this morning we launched the Operation Thunder, consisting of members from specialized units from provinces to deal with crime in Western Cape. We will be here over 3 months painting Western Cape, I almost said blue. On this score, We have brought 269 members and a lot of cars to make sure that we are stabilizing Western Cape gangsterism and the crime in Nyanga and all other places. Within the next few weeks, the TRT and tracking team will be deployed in medium to high-risk tactical intelligence operations dedicated to fight cash in transit heist, armed robberies, murderers, tax violence, and political killings. Chairperson, we want to reassure the people of South Africa that we are in process of responding to the ongoing alleged political killings in KZN. The President, His Excellency Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, has put together a team of ministers to deal specifically the attacks in KwaZulu-Natal. In the next few days, we will be announcing intervention measures to address the killing, extra measures. These deployments are not only limited to the areas mentioned, but we will be deploying and fighting crime from Guamashu in KZN to Sishego in Limpopo, from Umtata to Eastern Cape to Mafeking in Northwest, Cape Flats, Cape Town, El Dorado Park, and Gauteng. In Gauteng, we are now ready to respond to the cash heist, in the cash heist that has nerve-wracking in the province. Police staff complement. The police will maintain a staff complement of 98% during 2018-2019 financial year. Specific emphasis will be placed on appropriate capacitation, as I've said, of detectives, TRT, POP tracking, and crime intelligence gathering and analysis. And police station capacity will be focused point, and to this extent, 60% of entry-level recruitment posts will be allocated to stations. Currently, the allocated staff establishment at police station is 120,475. This allocation will be affected by the reduction in the compensation budget of the police. The annual enlistment, which is mainly a replacement of annual police due to the natural attrition, will also be undertaken during 2018-2019 in order to increase the current staff establishment at the station level. The police will focus on filling the 7,000 vacant posts at police stations, which were created by the re-establishment of the specialized units. In addition, all identified national units operating at local level will be decentralized to the command by station on the cluster commands. Approximately 6,000 members will be de-escalated to that level. We'll send people to the railway station, ports of entry, crime intelligence, and other uniform functions. The plan allocated staff establishment at police station and priority will be given to 30 identified crime-weight police stations, whereby major generals will be deployed as station commanders. Major generals will move from head office, will move from and go to the station, where stations that are identified as a crime-heavy station. The rationalization is aimed at enhancing command and control, ensuring that there is immediate decision-making at local stations. The Department of Police will do more to attract and retain the scarce skills as artisan pilots and auditors, as we have done with 1,041 scientists we have recruited. If need be, we'll tap into services, those who have been previously in the organization and excelled. So those that were in the organization and have excelled before, we have no qualms of re-inviting and bringing them back to the organization. In our midst, Chairperson, allow me to introduce to you our cadets who will be qualified pilots in this financial year. We have cadets, if they can stand up. All of them will qualify this year as a pilot trained with the South African Police Service. The police are currently developing an approach that will ensure the integration of effort between internal role players. Chairperson, in due course, we will be announcing the appointment of the new head of Hawks. This appointment will ensure that there will be stability within the Directorate and focus in the fight against priority crimes in our country, enhancing capacity within both detectives and DPSI will ensure that the long unresolved cases are dealt with and finalized. This year, the Cabinet has approved firearm amnesty due to the high number of illegal possessed firearms, which are in circulation in South Africa, and the fact that firearms are a major contributor to crime. The objectives of 2018 firearm amnesty is to reduce the number of illegal firearms, provide the firearm owners with the opportunity to hand in unwanted firearms, prevent crime and violence, address the fundamental causes of crime, ensure people living in South Africa feel safe and are safe. Chairperson, in due course, we'll be making an announcement about how the process will unfold. We urge communities to voluntarily surrender their legal and illegal firearms and will provide amnesty for possession of illegal firearms. We're making call for action to the community to make sure of this opportunity, since we are going to have no mercy when we deal with any unlawful possession of firearms thereafter. Chairperson, let me read this one. Chairperson, the safety of the policemen and women is priority of the government. The manner in which our police officers are attacked and killed undermines the integrity of the state, safety and security of our citizenry. The prevention and combating of crime in our country requires inter-alia partnership between the police communities and all stakeholders. As the cornerstone of this partnership, it will be prudent to have police officers who are highly motivated, competent, and dedicated to their task to fight crime. The police have implemented a number of measures to combat this scourge. Police safety committee has been established, integrated approach to address police safety through community awareness, and many other things that we'll be doing to combat this scourge. Chairperson, the department will continue to render professional service in line with the Batupele to a citizen of South Africa. Joining the SAPS should be seen as a promoted and a carrier of choice and the place of excellence. This year, in commemorating the Public Service Week in June, we will be launching the anti-corruption strategy. Furthermore, priority will be on the internalizing the South African Police Code of Conduct, ethical integrity leadership, as well as continuing with the lifestyle.
2 minutes.
I have redirected all entities reporting to the Ministry of Police to be exemplary in discharging of their constitutional obligation. Chairperson, I am resolute towards ensuring that consequential management will be applicable to hold accountable all members without fear and favor to non-performing officers. IPID has achieved significant success in the fight against corruption. It will intensify the fight against corruption, fraud, and maladministration conduct by the members of the service. The IPID encounters many challenges, which include, amongst inadequate funding and resources. I have directed IPID and the self-management to work very closely in execution of mandates. This will allow the smooth functioning of both sectors, thus allowing effective cooperation. Did you say 2 minutes? It was 2 minutes there. We hope in so doing that public confidence and morale will be restored, thus enhancing social partnership between the service and the community. I want IPID to develop a mechanism to contribute towards corrective measures and quick resolution of cases. Chairperson, specific focus will be placed on the improvement of the wellness of our employees through institutionalization of the department's new approved employee fitness, health and wellness policies. I am sure you will recall chest out, stomach in. This will not change much. What I am looking for now is simple chest out, stomach in, and do the right thing.
Isikhathi siphelile manje
Kodwa ngiyabuya.
Mhlonishwa. Yebo.
Ngiyabuya.
Sithokoze Mhlonishwa. Volgens is die voorsitter van die committee, achtbare lid Beekman.
Honorable House Chairperson, Minister of Police, Honorable Becky Cele, Deputy Minister Honorable Mkonki, members of Cabinet, MECs, honorable members, the accounting officers of the SAPS, IPID, Civilian Secretariat, and the Director of CIRA, fellow South Africans. The Portfolio Committee on Police received briefings from the SAPS on the 18-19 budget and performance plan on 17, 18, and 19 April 2018. The DPCI briefed the committee on 18 April 2018. Briefings were also received from the Independent Police Investigative Directorate and the Civilian Secretariat for Police on 20 April 2018. Civil society was invited to give input on the budget vote, and presentations were made by the South African Police Union, the Social Justice Coalition, the Institute for Security Studies, and Corruption Watch. The reports dealing respectively with the three entities were adopted by the Portfolio Committee on Wednesday, 8 May 2018, and published yesterday in the ATC on Monday, 14 May 2018. In the findings and observations, the committee specifically focused on the need to make provision for an increase in the budget with respect to promotion for SAPS members. The committee also resolved that the SAPS implement the recommendations of the NDP, review the low targets in all 5 programs with special emphasis on trial-ready dockets and the investigation of serious crime. Police safety was an important focus, as the Minister indicated, with an urgent need to install CCTV cameras at all police stations and that all frontline police officers be provided with body-worn cameras. The training of cybercrime specialists was highlighted, as well as the need for the DPCI to review its performance targets and focus exclusively on level 4 and 5 of the criminal chain. The committee also recommended that the DPCI finalize the organizational review structure and budget, and also obtain the relevant technology to fulfill its mandate. In the case of the SAPS, 29 recommendations were made. With relation to IPID, 12 recommendations, and in the case of the Civilian Secretariat, 18 recommendations. Chairperson, we celebrate this year the centenary of the birth of President Nelson Mandela. In 1995, during the term of President Nelson Mandela, the South African Police Service came into being. The legal framework for policing was created by the SAPS Act of 1995. It was President Mandela who said the following on 15 October 1994 at Vosloorus at the Safety and Security Summit, and I quote, "Every community in our country has a fundamental right to be free from fear. Each South African has the right to feel secure in your home, to feel safe in the cities, towns and rural areas. People should not fear the night. They must be able to travel to work, to school and other places without danger," close quote. We have seen this past year increases in the murder rate, serious crimes, and the last few months nearly daily occurrences of cash in transit robberies. This is totally unacceptable, and the tide against trio crime must be prioritized. The SAPS received a main appropriation of 92 billion for this financial year, the IPID 315 million, and the Civilian Secretariat 131 million. Like the previous financial year, the SAPS received the second largest individual vote in the budget. 11.27% of the national budget is allocated to the South African Police Service. We start the new financial year with a new Minister of Police, Honorable Becky Cele, and permanently appointed National Commissioner of Police, General Sitole, that will contribute to leadership stability in the South African Police Service. The ANC is of the firm view that value for money and good governance is the key to ensure that the funds allocated to the police portfolio is spent to further excellent service delivery to the people of the Republic and improve the safety and security of all South Africans. This is the bottom line. Resources should be prioritized toward the core function of policing, and tangible plans should be put in place on table to ensure that violent and contact crime is tackled head-on. We support the further extension and deployment of more well-trained specialized units to deal effectively with medium to high-risk crime environments and where communities are subjected to high crime incidents and the occurrence of violent crime. Strong command and control measures and well-defined protocols should be in place to ensure professional conduct of members always. The accounting officers of the three institutions in the police portfolio must ensure that the institutions under their stewardship obtain at least, on a minimum standard, an unqualified audit from the Auditor General. Anything below the standard needs consequent management from the side of the executive authority, namely the Minister of Police. In this financial year, consequent management, and I think the Minister also referred to in his speech, must be instilled and practiced to ensure that financial performance and budgetary controls contribute to an environment where the safety of all South Africans is enhanced. President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his capacity as President of the ANC, said the following in the January 8 statement in East London this year, and I quote, "Strong and efficient law enforcement agencies are critical to the fight against corruption and crime generally, and to the restoration of the integrity and legitimacy of the state. In this regard, the ANC is of the firm view that the country's intelligence services, the police, and prosecutorial authority should be strengthened and fortified to act with professionalism and without fear, favor, or prejudice. They should continue to be at the forefront of the fight against corruption and state capture and work with communities to deal decisively with acts of criminality that threaten to tear communities apart." Close quote. House Chairperson, the President of the Republic emphasized the strengthening of the police services and professionalism, but also the fight against corruption. Public trust in the police can only be improved if perceptions and actual police corruption is dealt with decisively and as a matter of priority. The Minister and the National Commissioner have the full support of the ANC to deal with corruption and criminality within the SAP's ranks. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate must continue to focus as a matter of priority on matters of systemic corruption in the police services. House Chairperson, we saw last week that the former provincial commissioner and brigadiers were sentenced to custodial sentences with relation to corruption charges. The presiding judge, Justice Roshini Ali, said the following in a judgment, and I quote, "The courts must send a strong message that corruption won't be tolerated. Corruption in the police force cannot be tolerated." Close quote. The Portfolio Committee have recommended in the budget report that the SAPs implement lifestyle audits on senior management with special emphasis on supply chain. The committee also recommended that the supply chain management ICT contract management should be audited by an independent forensic auditor with a view to minimizing risks. Consequent management should be implemented as a matter of priority. We commend recent steps taken by law enforcement units, especially the DPCI and IPID, for the arrest of corrupt police officials around the country. South Africans require a police service that can be trusted by the community, free of corrupt policemen and women. House Chairperson President Ramaphosa indicated in the State of the Nation address that in view of the skewed resource allocations of policing resources at station in poorer areas, the police will reallocate police resources at station level. House Chair, shifting crime trends, demographic changes, new developments, and migration necessitates a real-time response by police management to the shifting of police resources. Police resources must be optimally deployed to those communities who bear the brunt of violent crime. More importantly is the quality of leadership at station and cluster level. Consequent management should follow weak and poor performance. We want to again call on the National Commissioner to rotate station commanders, especially in gang-affected areas and other high-risk units, to ensure that integrity of command and control is not compromised by third-party interests. From an operational point of view, the following directive from the NDP should apply, and I quote from page 391, Deploy officers per crime patterns and trends. Officers should be available outside office hours to direct operations, investigate crime, and supervise staff. Office hours should not apply to policing. Senior staff should also always be available to resolve crime matters with speed and efficiency. Crime patterns in all countries around the world tend to change with technology, new innovations, socio-political developments, and migration patterns. Intelligence-led policing is the gateway to deal proactively with crime threats and crime syndicates. The success in the turnaround strategy of crime intelligence lies in the quality of leadership, integrity of members, and the commitment to the upholding of the constitutional order and output to ensure actionable intelligence-led policing. Research and development, as well as the international cooperation with other police agencies, is key. Cooperation on knowledge management and technology with Interpol and other international partners should be intensified. The shocking attack on a mosque last week in Verulam in
Wrap
KZN
up in 2 minutes.
is an example of a new crime intelligence threat that should be thoroughly investigated and evaluated. The role of crime intelligence to gather reliable information, to analyze and interpret new threats cannot be underestimated in the days and months lying ahead. Voorsitter, die sterftes van jong onskuldige kinders op die Kaapse vlakte, weens bendegeweld, maar veral weens kruisvuur deur misdadigers van onwettige vuurwapens, is inderdaad 'n nasionale tragedie. Jong kinders wat buite speel en deur 'n opslagkoel getref word, na 'n huiswinkel loop en ongesiens in 'n vuurgeveg beland, of in die voorkamer van 'n huis deur 'n dwaalkoel getref word, of selfs in 'n skoolklaskamer beseer of gedood word. Dit vertel 'n verhaal van 'n deel van Suid-Afrika waar kinderlewens nie sinoniem is met die visie van 2030 van die nasionale ontwikkelingsplan waar kinders veilig buite speel nie. Baie meer moet gedoen word om die kwessie van onwettige vuurwapens hok te slaan en ons verwelkom die stappe aangekondig deur die minister. But minister, it also means more resources to the DPCI Specialised Unit focusing on illegal firearms. More projects and network operations initiated by crime intelligence dealing with gun smuggling by criminal syndicates. Stricter control measures with regard to SAP stores, stations, and the arms supply of the SANDF. Closer cooperation with other SADC countries with regard to the proliferation and inflow of high-caliber automatic firearms in the region, and a full-scale review of the turnaround strategy of the FCR, and a forensic audit of high-risk areas in the licensing of firearms, as well as permits and authorities. The full implementation of the NDP recommendation with regard to policing should be at the top of the agenda in this financial year. We want to repeat what we have said in last year's debate. Many of the matters that are in the public domain about the management and competing mandates of the institutions...
Ongelukkig is die tyd om, meneer.
I'm finished. Thank you very much. The ANC supports the budget vote.
Thank you, achtbare lid Beekman. The following speaker from the DA is Honorable Mbele.
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo. At the outset, let me say that I agree wholeheartedly with the minister's call to turn the country blue. And he mustn't worry because the blue wave of the DA is indeed coming to wash over this land. Chairperson, in a previous budget debate, I made the statement that policing is about people. This year, I wish to make a statement on what policing is not about. Policing is not, in the main, about the mere facts of budgets and resources, despite our purpose today being a budget vote. But rather, policing and any hope of improving its performance to reduce crime is about the management of budgets and resources. By way of illustration, between 2002 and 2012, the SAPS grew by about 68,000 posts, and the SAPS budgets increased by 50% since 2012 to 87 billion rand in 2017. Despite these increases, the murder rates increased by 13% since 2012, and the number of armed robberies reported to the police rose by 31%. Therefore, the problem isn't a lack of resources. The problem, to quote the Institute for Security Studies, is incompetence and dishonesty at the highest levels of policing, which have profoundly weakened the ability of the country's crime-fighting institutions to tackle corruption and violence and organized crime. So, in its own inadvertent way, the SAPS has seemingly aided in the search for an answer to an age-old question by providing evidence that size, in fact, does not matter. Under different circumstances, the DA would have lamented the budget baseline reductions and resultant post-establishment cuts over the MTSF period. But given past experience, we know that money has not seen things get better. So perhaps fiscal austerity in exacerbating and making stock the state of crisis that the police service is in might force key reforms to be made that improve its management and ultimately its performance. So what are the key reforms that are required to ensure an effective and efficient police service that actually reduces crime to foster safe streets and safe homes? The DA believes that 3 key pillars of reform are required, which we would implement when a DA-led national government is elected. The first pillar is one already championed by the National Development Plan, namely that of professionalization. Like the medical field and education, policing should be treated as a profession, and indeed a vocation of public service, not just another job or simple occupation. In many jurisdictions around the world, one needs to attain a professional qualification before beginning active service in the police. And this was one of the key lessons from the Portfolio Committee study trip to the People's Republic of China in October last year. And one hopes that the crop of trainees and cadets attending here today will be the first wave of that new quality professional police service. In practice, the entrenchment of a culture of professional service in the police is the same as the foundation of any good organizational culture. Merit-based appointment and promotion, proportionate rewards for excellence and innovation, and strong accountability enforcement for underperformance and misconduct. The minister did speak to some of these, and we want to see those words translate into action. Now, essential for the former will be the establishment of the NDP proposed National Policing Board, and crucial for the latter will be the adequate resourcing and independence of accountability mechanisms, primarily the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, or the IPID. The second pillar is localization. A DA-led national government would localize budgets and management authority away from national and provincial levels to cluster and station levels in order to empower police closer to the ground to devise and implement policing strategies that are responsive to their local contexts and customized to local crime trends. In addition, this would enable them to convene local safety partnerships that leverage the resources of other safety stakeholders for force multiplier effects. Centralization has been shown repeatedly not to work, and a case in point is the shambles that is the SAPS garages. Why should a station not be able to undertake simple repairs and replacement itself directly, of course within appropriate financial controls, so that getting new brake pads can be done in 3 days tops, as opposed to the currently more common 3 weeks or even 3 months? Finally, the third pillar is specialization. The SAPS to date has had a schizophrenic approach to this. On one hand, re-establishing specialized units like the Family Violence, Child Protection, and Sexual Offences, or FCS units, after it became abundantly clear that their disbandment was a terrible mistake, but on the other hand, still dithering on the establishment of anti-gang units for the Western Cape. Without dedicated and sustained capacity, underpinned by expert knowledge and investigative experience being a key thrust to drive intelligence-led smart policing, we will never crack the conundrum of rising violent and organized crime in this country. The fundamental problem we face as a country in effectively tackling and reducing crime is a lack of political will within the ANC national government to do the things that are required to turn the police service around and make it an effective crime-fighting organization. If the ANC remains in government, the chronic crisis of understaffing and under-resourcing at station level will continue. Our crime intelligence will remain in crisis, and the overburdened detective services will continue to operate in distress. The only solution to these problems is for the ANC to be voted out of power and for a new national government to be installed that brings
Honorable
total
Mbele.
change and a new beginning
time has
instead of a
expired.
false dawn, and will have the political will to fix the fundamentals in the police. I thank you.
Isikhulumi esilandelayo ngumhlonishwa Mhlongo from the EFF.
The breakthrough in Cleveland's hostel has proven beyond doubt that intelligence-driven investigations are a way to go in breaking syndicates and organized crime in our country. The same methodology can be applied in ensuring that criminal underworld created by Zuma administration is abolished, and clear blueprint must be put in place to recover taxpayers' money looted during this reign of helix of evil. The road ahead cannot be easy, Mr. Minister, as corruption has reached proportions of complicated spider web, which inflicted paralysis almost in all state organs, thus creating culture of corruption within the state and society at large. This requires a great new beginning at both political and management level of South African police services. Stability in the command and control is of prime importance, as discipline in the service plays a key role. As EFF, we welcome the decision by the new Minister of Police that of recommending upward movement of over 40,000 police officers who have been overlooked for promotions because of their non-connectedness politically. And this has adversely affected morale of the South African police service in its entirety. We accept this great move and hope Parliament will endorse it for implementation in two phases, that is 2018 and 2019, budget cycle 2019 and 2020 financial years. Specialized units. Honorable Chairperson, our specialized units can be put in best action if and only if we ensure that, through you, Mr. Minister, and the Minister of Trade and Industry, as well as Minister of State Enterprises, we actually draw from the strength of AMSCO to ensure that they transfer skills to Daniel in order to ensure that nyalas are actually repaired on time and the replacement of most required services as recommended by Judge Valam are actually put at disposal, particularly of public order units. The detective services. Most of our detective services are comprises of young people, which is of course a good strength. However, institutional memory has been lost due to exodus of old experienced officers. Extensive training and retention strategy is required here, Mr. Minister. Crime Intelligence Service. Mr. Minister, moving from the experience in the recent past of the scandal of Captain KGB, it means the new general appointed must apply deforestation and forestation in order to ensure that you know exactly who is who in the zoo within the Crime Intelligence Service. Otherwise, you will be operating with criminal syndicates that will actually inflict damage to the whole program of fighting crime, because this must be ears and eyes of the state. IPID. This unit stood by the nation during difficult times and refused to surrender before the masters of helix of evil under Zuma era. The unit remains underfunded, with limited personnel, yet dealing with powerful syndicates within and outside South African Police Service. It is the duty of
1
this
minute.
House to plead with Treasury to put more resources at the disposal of this unit. Madam Chairperson, the angel of darkness has been thrown to KZN. Every person who actually is a victim, who actually is against the law, that person will be seen in corruption marches, supporting corruption. At the end of the day, innocent lives are lost because KZN has become a paradise of anarchy. We cannot leave this as a duty of South African Police Service only. When you have got a premier who is the head of government, supporting corruption marches instead of defending the Constitution. We must condemn this, and we must actually say, for us to deal with the killings in KZN, that province must be attended to with speed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Baba. Mhlonishwa Buthelezi from the IFP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. South African Police Service has a very clear responsibility to prevent, combat, and investigate crime, maintain public order, protect and secure the inhabitants of the Republic and their property, and uphold and enforce the law, to name but a few. However, Chairperson, for far too long have South Africans endured the heinous crimes that are committed on a daily basis against them. Murder, rape, sexual assault, housebreaking, business burglary, car theft, hijacks, etc. are on the rise. When one holistically looks at crime in our country, our communities are living in fear. Our farmers and farm workers are being killed. Livestock theft is on the rise. Drug-related crimes are becoming more and more prevalent, and our women and children no longer feel safe. Chair, the issue of safety and security goes beyond the safety of our citizens, as it forms the basis for economic development and growth in our country. A safe and secure country will see a boost in local and international investment opportunities, because investors always choose to invest in a country that is safe, free from violence and looting. What is noted, Chairperson, is that safety in South Africa appears only to be for the few, the wealthy, and the elite, as they are able to afford private security. Yet our poor and vulnerable communities are exposed to high levels of violent crimes. The above mentioned on its own, Chairperson, highlights the challenges and shortfalls of the SAPS in delivering on its core mandate. If citizens of this country are forced to dig into their pockets for their own safety, that's the biggest challenge that we face as a country. Chairperson, yet crime is down by 1.8% in South Africa, but even the police agree that the country just doesn't feel any safer, according to the latest SAPS crime stats. Former Minister Honorable Balula admitted last year in a broadcast, and he said, I quote, "We have a 1.8 drop in crime. I don't feel it, and our people do not feel it. And they are correct," close quote. This on its own shows that how far we are from achieving a deadly percentage decline in crime. The IFP hopes that the new minister, Honorable Cele, this time around will be able to make a significant impact in reducing crime. We have also seen that talking tough on crime does not change anything. It's only tough actions that are able to see us reducing crime in our country. Chairperson, in terms of the IPID, in March this year, the Executive Director, Mark Bright, told this House that there are huge challenges within the department itself, including the lack of security clearance of senior crime intelligence officers. The worst part of this, the worst part of all, is the involvement of South African Police Service officers and those in high positions who are involved in criminal activities and crime syndicates, which pose a serious threat to our national security. A case in point, Honorable Chairperson, was also the statement made by Mark Bright when he said, and I quote, "Police were preoccupied with stealing, not fighting crime." And this is not something that we should accept as a republic. Chairperson, for our country to respond positively on the call by our President Cyril Ramaphosa, as he said in his SONA, Tumamina, quote unquote, this department fundamentally serves in the interest of ensuring that the ideals of a new dawn is achievable by ensuring that our country is safe and it's prosperous. The IFP support this budget, and I wish to commend the Minister when he said they will be soon introducing the Operation Thunder, and I only hope that, Ndosi, there won't be any lightning conductors within your department, so that when it thunders, the lightning must strike a person. Thank you.
Sithokoze inkosi yamabutho. Honorable Sheikh Imam, take the debate forward.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. All I've been listening to here is complaints, 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 but no solutions. And what is worse, the complaints are coming from people who have, there's enough complaints about them right now. They are in a crisis, but they are talking about complaints of government. Anyway, the National Freedom Party supports the report of the South African Police Services and IPID tabled here today. The matter of concern, however, Chairperson, is the issue of value for money. Whilst what budgets are allocated, the challenge we seem to find is, and repeatedly, year in, year out, we seem to find that departments seem to be funding in terms of spending the money accordingly and providing the services that is required. The emphasis for me should not be on the money, but on the service that we provide, because policing is about serving the people and protecting them and creating a, Honorable Chairperson, allow me on behalf of the nation to apologize to the families of Karabo Mukwena and Zolile Kumalo, deprived of life and murdered carelessly by criminals Sandile Manso and Tabani Mzolo. Mzolo, who is a current member of the Inkatha Freedom Party and the former chairperson of SEDESMO, the student wing of the Inkatha Freedom Party, having used an unlicensed firearm to gun down this beautiful girl.
On a point of order.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson, one of the...
On a point of order.
Honorable Shaikh.
Yeah.
Just hold on a second.
Honorable Chairperson, I rise in terms of Rule 85.
Yes.
That the member must not mislead the House. He knows that very well. And quite frankly, I think it's reckless and irresponsible for an honorable member on such a serious matter to try and stir the political pot over the blood of people. It's cheap politics, and he knows it to be true himself. Actually, it borders on stupidity.
Take your seat, honorable member. Take your seat. You may proceed, honorable member.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, Minister, one of the problems we seem to be having is intelligence. And what you could see very, very clearly what is happening in the Western Cape right now. What happened pre-1994, and let me reiterate, what happened pre-1994 by the apartheid regime, which created black-on-black violence, is now starting in the Western Cape by the Democratic Alliance government, creating division between the colored and the black community. And I want South African police services to be mindful of this, as there's going to be a lot of pressure on South African police services to deal with matters of this nature. Yes. Honorable Chairperson and Minister, let me also talk about the issue of the South African National Defence Force, which is supposed to have come and provided assistance to deal with the issues of gangsterism and drug-related cases, specifically in the Western Cape. And we all know that this is a crisis that is going on from year to year to year, and very little or nothing seems to be happening. It is our view that one of the ways of resolving this is to bring in the Defence Force, not to work in silos, but to work together with South African police services to give them the necessary support. Because what police have repeatedly told us in all the stations that we visited, they know who the criminals are, they know who the drug dealers are, they know who the gangsters. What they need is that added support to be able to go out there and eradicate them once and for all. The other challenge that we have is the issues of the borders and the airports in terms of where drugs are coming in, and I don't think we are effective enough in terms of that. In terms of policing, when it comes to the issue of car theft, motor vehicle theft, car hijacking, it is as a result of there being a market for it. Why is there a market for it? Because the licensing department, the roadworthy centers are all working, Honorable Minister, in collusion and being able to create this market. So we need to deal with that matter hands, Honorable Minister.
Honorable members. Honorable Shaikh, just hold on a second.
Okay.
Honorable members, please don't drown the speaker. We have got guests that have been invited. Thank you very much. Order, honorable members. You may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Guns are becoming a major problem in South Africa. And as the National Freedom Party, we are once again calling to create a gun-free society. And I think we'll go a long way if we create a gun-free society, because you look at a lot of the crime that's being perpetrated is by use of a gun. And I think we have lost control in terms of gun ownership in South Africa, and we are calling for South Africa to be a gun-free society situation. The other thing is, as Honorable Chairperson and Minister, the limited powers on the South African police services, our men in blue. We're having a problem because IPID is on their backs. They cannot effectively deal with the criminal. And we say, shoot the criminal with the contempt they deserve. If you don't do that, they're going to come back and shoot you. The National Freedom Party supports the budget vote table here.
Chairperson.
Thank you.
Chairperson.
Order, honorable members. Why are you rising?
It's the point I'm rising on, Chairperson, is that it's unparliamentary that Honorable Hlengwa threatened Honorable Sheikh Imam that he must not pass there. Now, this is a serious threat, and therefore I want to suggest that, Chair, we call the police to attend to Honorable Hlengwa as a matter of urgency.
Order. No, take your seat. Take your seat. Thank you. Honorable members, please let us just try and provide a situation where our guests can listen to what the speakers are saying. Thank you very much. We now call the Deputy Minister of Police.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister of Police, Honorable Peggy Cele, ministers and deputy ministers present here today, the leadership of the police, the guests that are here to grace this important event. I rise before this house today with a pained and heavy heart that today and the age, our country continues to bury its own children, especially the girl child. I am asking myself many questions. What kind of a nation celebrates the death of its own children? The Republic of South Africa is not a burial society for its own children. So something should be done to defend our girls. This year marks the first anniversary of the brutal murder of Luando Mantshontsho at Walter Sisulu University in the Eastern Cape, who died on the 12th May 2017. When he was killed, he had only 5 months to graduate a medical degree, doctor. So recently, on the 1st May 2018, another student, Zolile Khumalo, a Mangosuthu University technology student, was brutally killed by one Isishumane. This was followed by the ruthless death of Katlego Georgia, a 10-year-old child. I repeat, we cannot continue along this path. We need to do something. Our country is under siege, and our girls are under siege in the dirty hands of Isishumane. in our own township and also in our own universities and technicons, something needs to be done urgently. In this budget, the year we will deliver on our efforts to ensure greater safety on our campuses and schools. These incidences of the brutal killings of our children and our students at institutions of higher learning needs to be dealt with. On Friday, 11th May 2018, together with the Minister Cele, we officially launched the Campus Safety Program in the Tshwane University of Technology. Going forward, we will embark on the road shows to all institutions of higher learning in the Republic of South Africa with the aim of having campus safety dialogues. In the same vein, we have partnered with the Ministries of Basic Education, Higher Education and Training, and Social Development to reorganize the failed School Safety Summit that was supposed to be in 2017. Part of this School Safety Summit is to review the current school safety initiatives. For an example, we need to add, or we need to take action against the continued death of our children in pit toilets, especially in rural areas. Therefore, the school safety program should include, amongst others, health safety and road safety. Former President Nelson Mandela once said, "A country that does not take care of its own children, women, and the elderly has no future." We are dedicating this budget in honor of women, children, the disabled, and other vulnerable groups in our own country. While we understand and feel the pain and suffering, we need to join all our efforts to defend the vulnerable, the weak, and the threatened in our own ranks. Our budget is entitled "A Case for Budgeting," budget dedicated to women, children, and the vulnerable. And we are calling for zero tolerance towards violence against women and children, the elderly, and other vulnerable groups, as we continue to receive disturbing news of the killing of young women and students. As men across all societies and sectors, we should stand up and say to the nation, any man who is abusing a woman or a girl child is not part of us and must face the full might of the law. Honorable members, in this year of the centenary of our stalwarts, Mama Sisulu and Tata Mandela, we stand before you to present this budget. As we reflect on the lives of these and other leaders, we commit ourselves to ensuring that what they stood for is realized during our lifetime. The new budget year will see us continue our commitment to address the plight of those members from the former non-statutory forces who have routinely and systematically been denied access and opportunities within an integrated police service. The conditions of service and the readiness and capacity of the uniformed corps and detective services who traditionally are non-commissioned officers and the state of crime intelligence will be overhauled. This has seen us engaging these components and began the process of studying developments inside and outside the police and realizing the fact that the world is changing fast, and thus the question of what that means for the police matters in this particular country. It is in this regard that we must acknowledge that the South African Police Service is a youthful institution. This means, in essence, that SAPS is an agile organization, not a fragile one. And our office has been engaging the youth within the SAPS and separately within our own community with a view of listening to their needs and development opportunities and challenges that they are facing inside the SAPS. We need to give our undivided support to these young people in the police service that are at the cold face of crime. It is my considered belief that crime is on our streets, not in offices. It is therefore necessary to provide all manner of support to these young officers, including promotions and their academic training and mobility. And some of them are here today. There at the back, those are our students that are in our colleges. So we need to focus on them because SAPS is an agile organization of running people, not a fragile organization of old people. So we need to take care of those youngsters there. We are of the firm belief that the SAPS structure is skewed and top-heavy, and addressing these and other structural changes calls for a deliberate and considered intervention. We are therefore going to take a review of the youth crime prevention strategy to this particular house this year. This strategy would respond to challenges that are facing young people across the country. Our engagement with communities across the country with the aim of listening and understanding their experiences, expectations, and challenges have revealed that we cannot wait for professional and effective policing services to be delivered to the most vulnerable, threatened, and marginalized. Thus, in the meantime, we urgently need our best people at station level, enabling, facilitating, and leading on the delivery of essential police services, which should see us redeploying our senior police to the community service centers.
You are left with 2 minutes.
In engaging with these and other rural and urban areas, we are securing our work with the community policing forums and community safety forums and campus liaising forums. The aim of the latter is to take partnership with various stakeholders with the intention of addressing crime and violence at our colleges and everywhere. We will launch and nationalize Masibambane campaign this year. We are taking it from Comrade Ramatlakane when he was an MEC, we're nationalizing and operationalizing at a national level. Your child is my child campaign. We also call upon all South Africans to take care and good care of the police. On our part, we have started negotiations with private physical training institutions to assist in ensuring that health and fitness centers are accessible to the police and that there are innovative and structured programs to enhance the fitness levels of all the police officers. Lastly, we also visited some of the barracks or living quarters of members, and the conditions of some of these are horrific. We call upon the relevant government departments and private sector institutions to be open to provide accommodation to the police. We are saying that senior members of the police must go out of these barracks. They are getting enough salaries, they can buy their own houses. We must give these barracks to those young people who need them, who are staying in shacks and are vulnerable. They do not have enough money to pay for their own housing. So, Minister, we must take the issue of taking all senior officers from barracks. They must buy their own houses. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Order. Order, honorable members. Akbare Groenewald, gaan voort.
Voorzitter, I want to start to say that today I want to thank all the members of the South African Police Services, men and women who work hard, who are dedicated to their job, who have to face dangerous situations to save the people of South Africa. We thank you for what you are doing to make South Africa a better place. I want to have a special word of thanks to those members, about 5,500 of them, who are part of the public ordering police. Those people had to handle, according to figures given in the portfolio committee, of about 14,374 incidents of violence and protests. Thank you. I saw in Northwest, working long hours, getting tired, but they still have to be the barrier between an incompetent government and the people to ensure their safety. And I want to say, Honourable Minister, you'll have to speak very, very urgently to your government because of their poor governments. And I can understand that people can get unhappy with the ANC governments. I will also. But that the police have to be that barrier. As ek dit gesê, dan wil ek ook sê dat van 99 is die Vryheidsfront Plus op rekord waar ons gesê het dat die polisiekommissaris kan nie 'n politieke aanstelling wees nie.
Dit moet 'n ervare, kundige persoon uit die geleedere van die polisie wees. Ons het dit nou. Generaal Sithole is ervare, hy's kundig, hy het ander kundige lede aangestel. Agbare minister, u self was vir 'n paar jaar 'n kommissaris van polisie. So as minister weet u wat is die uitdagings van die polisie. En daarom wil ek vandag vir u sê, en ek plaas dit op rekord, ek soek nie meer verskonings dat daar nie kundigheid is om misdaad in Suid-Afrika te bestry nie. U het die kundigheid, u het die mense, en ons gee u 'n billike kans om die misdaad in Suid-Afrika behoorlik te kan bestry. Dis 'n skande as 'n mens vanoggend na die media moet luister en jy hoor van 'n adjutant-offisier wat nogal in die gespesialiseerde eenheid van georganiseerde misdaad van 'n elite eenheid soos die Valke gearresteer word en dit gevind word dat dit blyk te wees dat hy die meesterbrein is agter transito-rooftogte en ander rooftogte. Dit is die kanker wat hierdie ander lede van die polisie wat hard werk, deel van daardie korps ook besoedel. En ek wil 'n beroep op u doen dat u daadwerklik sal moet optree. Laastens, agbare minister, dankie vir die syfers oor plaasmoorde. Ek verwelkom dit. En ek sal graag met u in gesprek wil tree. Laat ons dit meer verfyn. Natuurlik is daar verskille oor die presiese getal. Maar vir die afgelope aantal 3 jare was daar 'n toename in aanvalle. En ons sal spesifiek moet gaan kyk na statistiek oor die slagoffers van plaasaanvalle. Want dis mense wat vermink is, wat wreed aangerand is, wat gepoog is om hulle te vermoor en hulle die letsels en hulle moet voortgaan met hulle lewens, dat ons 'n behoorlike statistiek kan kry, because only if you know the real situation, you can address the problem. There's nothing a bigger enemy as denial. So I'd like to engage with you further on that matter. I thank you.
Dankie. Thank you. We call Honorable Mola.
Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members, officials of the Department of Police, distinguished guests, and fellow South Africans, Sanbonan. House Chairperson, crime has always been an area of concern for the ANC. The ANC's 2014 election manifesto committed to the promotion of safer communities and giving special attention to fighting crime. The ANC noted in its 2012 strategy and tactics that there should be promotion of social cohesion and that there should also be a deliberate collective action to promote a positive role by members of the society in promoting a culture of zero crime rate. The ANC-led government has consolidated partnerships across society to strengthen social cohesion and ensure that our country achieves its value of a caring society. House Chairperson, the Civilian Secretariat for Police Service is established in terms of Section 208 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, and for many years it was incorporated into the South African Police Service, which constrained the entity from fulfilling its role of civilian oversight of the police until the promulgation of Civilian Secretariat for Police Service Act of 2011. Which resulted in this entity established as a department in April 2014. The Civilian Secretariat has, since its establishment as a department, developed a number of policies and strategies, conducted research, monitoring, and evaluations to improve policing and safety in the country. All this is worthless if it is ignored by SARS. We believe that with enough resources, the Civilian Secretariat will be of great support in the transformation of the South African Police Service. House Chairperson, in the 2 decades since the transition to democracy and the establishment of a democratic police service, South Africa continues to experience alarmingly high rate of crime, particular violence crime. Violence against vulnerable and marginalized groups remains stubbornly high, compromising the ability of these individuals to play an active role in their communities and society at large. SAPS continues to ensure that barriers to reporting cases of rape, sexual abuse, and domestic violence are sufficiently addressed to reporting and minimize secondary victimization. The policy on reducing barriers to reporting domestic violence and sexual offenses developed by the Civilian Secretariat for Police is a ministerial directive that must be implemented by SAPS to deal with this scourge, and if implemented diligently, we believe it will bring confidence and trust in the police by the most vulnerable members of our community. The Civilian Secretariat must monitor the implementation of this policy. Seemingly intractable challenges such as gangsterism, drugs, and alcohol abuse underpinned by increasingly sophisticated and violent organized criminal enterprises have resulted in our communities being mired in a cycle of violence and trauma. Our people rejoiced when Cabinet announced the approval of National Anti-Gangsterism Strategy in 2016. But to this date, the impact of the implementation of this strategy is not felt by the communities who on a daily basis experience pain and suffering to gang violence and the effect of drugs. House Chairperson, the 2016 White Paper on Policing provides appropriate police frameworks for achieving these goals. The White Paper on Policing provides a focused emphasis into areas of responsibilities of SAPS, which deals with a professional, modern, and demilitarized police service that is community-centered, accountable, and human rights-based. Moreover, it highlights the importance of regular, independent civilian oversight of the police to foster openness, transparency, and accountability. The regular scrutiny of police conduct and performance is a cornerstone of democratic policing, and thus every effort should be made to strengthen the role of independent investigating directorate and civilian secretariat in holding police service accountable. House Chairperson, the Directorate exercises its function in accordance with the IPID Act independently from SAPS and MPS. The thrust of the work of the Directorate is to investigate serious and priority crimes allegedly committed by members of the SAPS and MPS. This includes a greater focus on systemic corruption. The IPID Act enhances the Directorate investigative capacity and creates an opportunity for a strong independent oversight body which will in consequence contribute to the achievement of a police service that operates in line with the spirit of the Constitution. The IPID's ultimate goal is to contribute towards the achievement of Vision 2030 as outlined in the National Development Plan, which is that people in South Africa feel safe and enjoy a community life free of fear. A police service which is trusted by the community means the building of police service that is professional, serves the community, safeguards lives and property without discrimination, and respects the right to equity and justice. The IPID's strong management and skilled investigators contribute towards the realization of the IPID's strategic outcome-oriented goals identified for 2013 to 2018 strategic planning period. The other factors that will contribute positively towards the realization of these goals are powers bestowed upon IPID investigators as officers provided in the Criminal Procedures Act, Act 51 of 1977. The current lack in human resources capacity and the high staff turnover pose a significant threat in fulfilling the Directorate legislative mandate and consequently the achievement of its strategic outcomes and goals. The mandatory reporting and investigation of serious and priority crimes alleged committed by members of the SAPS and the MPS has resulted in an increased workload for the Directorate. In order to address the aforesaid pressures and to ensure that IPID fully complies with its legislative mandate and added reporting responsibility, additional resources will have to be sourced over 2018 to 2023 period. The current economic climate and the allocation of funding might bring about additional challenges in this regard. Nevertheless, the Directorate is committed to deliver on its legislative mandate in order to contribute towards the achievement of the ultimate outcome, namely a police service that is trusted by the community. In conclusion, the Department of Police is the backbone of the developmental state we are building, and it's a pillar of the provision of safety and security. The adoption of this year's budget is within the context of prevailing difficult local and global economic conditions. It is in this context that we as the ANC-led government unwaveringly support the budget as it is presented. We are of the firm view that it addresses the main spirit of what we believe to be at the center of transformation our police service. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I have not been informed about the whereabouts of Honorable Madisha. I therefore call upon Honorable Misha. Order. You may proceed, Honorable
Thank you,
Misha.
Chairperson. I stand on behalf of the ACDP to support this budget and to also congratulate and thank all the police who are doing their job diligently and with unwavering commitment. We welcome, as the ACDP, the Minister's statement that a key priority for the 2018-19 would be the implementation of direct measures to restore the community's trust. The ACPS must ensure that it adheres to high ethical and professional standards in meeting the service delivery needs, and that they investigate all allegations of corruption, especially within its senior leadership. We note with concern that investigations by IPID against senior police officers implicated in systematic corruption were being hampered. Investigative authorities such as IPID and other police officials that might be intimidated from doing their jobs in eradicating rotten apples from these institutions must receive greater protection. To this end, we welcome the additional allocation of 20 million rands by National Treasury to IPID to pursue and complete its investigations. Chairperson, not enough, we believe, is being done to ensure that there is an increase of visible policing on our streets. While 51% of the SAPS budget is apportioned to visible policing, we do not believe it is enough to significantly decrease high levels of crime. Furthermore, the reported reduction of some 3,000 personnel over the medium-term budget period will have serious consequences for the police stations at local level, as there is already serious staffing shortfall. While the ACDP welcomes gains made in reducing certain categories of crime, we are nevertheless concerned that contact crimes have increased by 1.9%. The trio crimes of robbery with aggravating circumstances, which includes car hijacking, house and business robberies, have also increased. Police must act swiftly to address car hijackings. Besides endangering the lives of the victims, car hijackings also impact negatively on our economy. It is very sad to know that even tourists who contribute to our economy are not spared. Yesterday, there was another report of a tourist being hijacked on their way to King Shaka International Airport. When tourists who were hijacked in our country report back on their bad experiences in their home countries, it further tarnishes our country's image as an investor-friendly country. And obviously, this deters both visitors and future investors. The President has appointed envoys to visit countries that have the capacity to invest in our country because we need jobs to grow our economy. But these hijackings targeted at tourists in particular from airports are undermining such efforts. Robbery at residential places has also increased by 7.3%. This exposes residents to the risk of violent attacks while their homes are being searched and robbed. Chairperson, our homes should be places of safety. If we are not safe in our homes, then where in the country will we be safe? Criminals in our country have become more daring, that they even attack and rob police stations. This is why the ACDP supports proposals that all police stations be better equipped with CCTV cameras and body cameras for frontline service personnel. The ACDP notes with concern that there has been an increase in the murders of members of metropolitan and municipal police services, particularly in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. In February, 5 police officers and an SANDF soldier were killed in Ngobo, Eastern Cape.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Misha. We now call Honorable Molewati.
Motlotlegi modulasetulo, ditona le batlatsa ditona, badiri mmogo le nna ba ba tlotlegang, maloko a sepodisi sa Afrika Borwa le makala otlhe, bagaetsho botlhe ko gae, ntletlang ke le dumediseng mo tshokologong ya letsatsi. Puo ya ka e tla itshetlega mo detectives le DPCI e bong di Hawks le crime intelligence. Mo dingwageng di le mmalwa re tlisitse diphetogo mo lefapheng. Go nnile le mokomisinara pharephare wa leruri, Permanent National Commissioner. Gape le tlhogo ya crime intelligence. Se se tla tlisa go iketla e bong stability mo boeteledimpele ba sepodisi. As the ANC, we urge Minister Begitele to expedite the appointment of a permanent national head of the Hawks. Someone with unwavering integrity and steadfast loyalty to our Constitution. We cannot afford to compromise the independence of the specialized unit. The Hawks must act without fear of favor and need support when going up against seeming giants. Honorable Chairperson, what is encouraging is that the Hawks are not flying up there anymore. They are now here. On the 20th September 2017, Hawks snapped 2 of their own and a cop for 1 million rand armed robbery. On 1st February 2018, a syndicate on VAT scam was arrested by Hawks in Durban and Pretoria, where 99 million was recovered. On 24th April, Gauteng Hawks arrested 5 security company workers for cash in transit with the value of 30 million. On 25th April 2018, the Hawks in Free State conducted a search and seizure operation at Free State Gambling, Liquor, and Tourism Board offices in Bloemfontein. On 9 May 2018, the Hawks arrested 12 suspects for allegedly operating illegal gold processing laboratories at Mapuve village in Limpopo. Yes, the Hawks are flying here. Mopresidente wa naga ya rona, Mopresidente Matamela Ramaphosa, fa a bula palamente ngwaga o rile ke a monopola. This is the year in which we will turn the tide of corruption in our public institutions. Ag bare voorsitter, die debat in openbare domein word gekenmerk deur ernstige beweringe van korrupsie in die kontrakbestuur en aankope afdeling van die Suid-Afrikaanse Polisdiens. Die valke modelle werksverhouding met die aflek Politieonderzoek Directorate versterk ten einde korrupsie en die geleedere van die politiehok te slaan. Chairperson, the newly appointed Divisional Commissioner for Crime Intelligence has a mammoth task ahead. The ANC is optimistic that he will ride the ship that has been listed for more than 6 years. The ANC wishes General Jacobs well in his pursuit to lift crime intelligence in fulfilling its mandate and truly become a foundation of effective intelligence-led policing. The ANC urges the detectives to increase its performance targets, especially for property-related crimes. Not all our people can afford expensive insurance to replace stolen goods. Dikgolegelo tsa rona di tletse di a phophoma ka disenyi. Mme ga ba ikisa ba tshwere ke maphodisa mme ra ba akgola. Se re sedikwa ke dimtša pedi ga se thata. Ka moya wa thumamena wa Presidente Ramaphosa le rona a re thusane le mapodisa a rona. Selo se sa go re tshwenya re le ANC ke dipolao tsa basadi le bana. Fa mo Presidente ana a re thumamena ona a raya gore basadi le bana ba tshwanetse ba sireletswe mme ba tsamaye ba phuthulogile go ya ka tokomane ya NDP mo chapter 12. Basadi le bana ba bolailweng setlhogo mme rena re le ANC re re matlhoko go ba malapa. Go tloga ka Ferikgong 2017 basadi ba ba 22 ba bolailwe mo Western Cape. Ka 15 May 2018 mmele wa ngwanyana o fisitsweng wa mengwaga e 15 o topilwe mo Joburton Northwest. Ka di 9 tsa May 2018 Saudi Umar ngwana o mengwaga e le 5 a katilwe a be a bolaiwa mo Delft, Cape Town. Ka di 7 tsa May lesia la dikgwedi tse 6 Bonolo a bolaiwa ke rragwe ka Selepe ko Limpopo. Ka di 1 tsa May Zolile Khumalo a thuntsha a swa mo University ya Technikon ko KZN. Ka 28 May 2017 mongwe gape a bolaiweng gape Thogo ka botlhoko o mongwe gape a bolailweng ka botlhoko Karabo Mokwena kwa Gauteng. Mokapelo wa gagwe Sandile Mantswe a latlhelwa dingwaga di le 32. Re le ANC re galaletsa mokapotene Malefatsane Philip Gadebe le setlhopha sa gagwe ba ne ba tshwere kgetsi e ya ga Karabo Mokwena. Go bona ra re halala. Mo ngwagakgolo o wa mo Presidente wa ntlha mo Presidente Mandela le Mme Albertina Sisulu ra re dilo tse ga di batlege.
Order, Chair.
The INC
Just hold on.
Aibo, please, I'm a
Honorable
member here.
Mlebati.
I have a right.
Why are you rising?
Chair, is it parliamentary to say there's a Capricorn in KZN instead of Limpopo? Capricorn, KZN.
It's not a point of
parliamentary.
order. Just take your seat. Take your seat. Thank you very much.
I did not
You
say
may
so.
proceed. Proceed.
Die ANC ondersteun hierdie begroting. Ek dank u.
Thank you very much. We now call Honorable Kola Barnard.
Colleagues, if you imagine that finally ridding the saps of crooked criminal crime intelligence boss Richard Mluli had magically cut the bars on its own version of state capture lockup, you would be mistaken. Why do you think the NPA has reinstated a charge against General Johan Boysen, a charge that has already been thrown out of court? It's to keep him from working together with Minister Cele. He had the unmitigated gall to lift the grubby NPA sheet and give us a peek. If you imagine this was not payback for his attempts to jail Tosh and Pandey, you would be mistaken. Minister, of those involved, Colonel Maddow, who attempted to bribe the general with 2 million cash in a bag, is still at work, as is Captain Narain Prasad, arrested for corruption, and Colonel Aya, arrested for perjury. The SAPs paid Mluli millions for all the years it took him to reach retirement age, using every excuse in the book, but the new NPC released him faster than Shabir Sheikh. The report by Major General Henkel revealed in excruciating detail his thieving ways, any one of which should have, had any other SAPS member immediately fired and criminally charged. While he sat in that chair, senior public prosecutor had 2 attempts made on her life, shortly after handing a 200-page report revealing the error of lifting the murder charges against him to the acting head of the NPA. You know who she is. She's our Shadow Minister of Justice, Glynis Breitenbach. Speaking of which, so great is the fear of General Boysen that a hit has allegedly been taken out on him. There is confirmation from 3 independent and reliable sources that MK vets from Cornubia near Phoenix and KZN have been taken on to do the job after meetings with none other than former fired President Jacob Zuma, Super Zuma, and Sihle Zikalala. Duda Myeni is also implicated after she also met with the vets. Indeed, if General Boyson so much as stubs his toe, we'll know exactly where to look. Members of the SAPS have been beaten down like a baton to the head by each of the revolving door ministers and crooked national police commissioners over the past decade. The result, the 91 billion rand made up of our taxes, gives us over 2,000 firearms stolen from SAPS armories over the past 4 years, over 2,500 police firearms stolen or lost over the past 3 years, 11,000 police members who don't have competency certificates, yet nearly 4,000 of them are still packing. So we have members who can't shoot, no guns, no driver's licenses, but that doesn't really matter because there's so few vehicles to drive. Minister, presumably a pickpocket nicked your watch, so you missed my latest member statement on the murders in our rural areas. How those have become carefully planned and executed invasions characterized by sheer brutality. I gave excruciating details of the torture and murder of black, white, Indian, young and old residents of farms. Minister, you say we don't need specialized rural safety units because the rural safety strategy is working. You might imagine it is, but it isn't. Our rural communities are isolated, they are terrified, and they need your help. Of course, you'd also need forensic evidence if a farm murderer was actually caught. Some were, but the forensic evidence didn't arrive, and the court was about to cut them free. I managed to ensure the evidence arrived. Today they're being tried, but what if I hadn't been called? The SAPS has spent billions on forensic laboratories, but the one in Amanzimtoti was flooded for the 3rd time recently and has now been abandoned. You must think the promised laboratory in Pinetown is nearly complete, but you would be wrong. The land for the new lab was bought 8 years ago, but not one brick has been laid. I did ask for the details of the forensic sample backlog nationally, but if you imagine I have them, you would be mistaken. Speaking of regressing, we met to interrogate the Moses Mabhida Stadium invasion, the one that resulted in the 2.8 million in damages. My information was that the operational plan was only signed off on the day after the match. The police admitted that was true. I also asked if it was true the leader of the operation had missed every planning meeting. The police admitted it had. I presume, Minister, you still think in your chest-out, stomach-in chant, and that's convinced you that the SAPS is able to deal with any and all emergencies. Where were the SAPS when the 35 trucks started burning at the Moy River Toll Plaza? As crime intelligence is back to the level of a fresh-faced first-time pickpocket, they had no idea the burning was about to start. They're as much use as a file in a cake. Add to that the fact that the process to ensure the POP units are called is now so cumbersome that the disarmed reservists on the scene may as well have been handcuffed. The POP units have become the sensible shoes of the SAPS, hard to find, and when they eventually give you your wish, you wish you'd never ordered them. The lack of crime intelligence,
left with 1 minute.
Thank you, speaks equally to the soaring rhino and elephant poaching, especially in KZN. Poachers are arrested, zip through the courts, pay minimal bail, and disappear. When did you last hear of a poacher being jailed? Certainly not alleged kingpin Dumisani Gwala. 20 adjournments later, and they're trying again next week. It seems every time the allegations of the magistrate's court come up, the police are sidelined. There's only one officer left investigating this matter. The DA has a single vision, a highly professionalized SAPS, where station commanders aren't set up for failure to the extent that they turn away victims of crime so their stats will show a decrease. For a decade, I've asked for a professional, real police officer at the helm. We have one, and I pray daily the rumors that he may not be so squeaky clean are fake news. Sadly, if you imagine the ANC can self-correct as it yells, "Shut up," to those pointing out their myriad failings, you would be mistaken.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The Honorable Marke.
Ministers, deputy ministers, and my colleagues. Honorable Chairperson, my colleagues have said almost everything that needs to be said in the Portfolio Committee on Police Services. However, it is always appropriate to start one's speech with the guiding document, which explains what needs to be done within the police service by 2030. The NDP states that we must build safer communities by 2030. People should feel safe and have no fear of crime. They should have confidence in the criminal justice system to effectively apprehend and prosecute criminals who violate individuals and community safety. It goes further to say that the criminal justice system needs to be strengthened. The police service needs to be professionalized. It also needs to be demilitarized. This means that the service must move away from its history of brutality. The key goal of transformation within the police force in 1994 was to move away from this history of brutality. We need to build community participation, civil society organizations, and civil participation are needed to establish safer communities. Honorable Chairperson, having said all this, I think it is necessary to give a brief background of what used to happen before we took over as the African National Congress government. And that will explain why it is necessary to implement the principles that I alluded above. Let me give you a practical example. How many people on my left have ever in their lives been arrested, locked in police cells, and brutalized? Is it because they are good citizens, especially before the ANC took over? But honorable Chairperson, look at this other side. My side of the house, almost 80 to 90% of them have experienced brutality in one way or another. Either they have at one point been arrested, confined to solitary confinement, tortured, banished, banned, sentenced, or harassed in ways unimaginable. This side. If I was to repeat how many on my left experience any of this, all of these horrible things mentioned were implemented by a police force at that time, helped by the community of the white minority. They will talk about a citizen arrest. They still do not, up to even today, they're actually nostalgic to their good old days when they could do that with impunity. What about Ventersdorp, Messina, Witbank, Potchefstroom? A person is killed because his black dog, belonging to a farm worker, mated with Mrs. Henriette Chihuahua. That is why I thought it necessary to give you the history of your own police force, lest you forget. And you conveniently try to forget. Because the DA keep on talking about transformation of the police service. I always think to myself, what does the DA know about transforming the police force? Transforming it towards what? During apartheid, the SAP was at the forefront of enforcing racist laws to promote white hegemony. The SAP was political in the worst possible sense of the term. The police protected the white minority government of the day rather than the citizenry at large, controlling black South Africans as part of their mandate. From what is known about police culture, the system of apartheid would have had a profound impact on SAPs. Racism in SAPs was crude in both form and expression. Black police officers were seen to be naturally inferior to white officers, which reflected in the racist ideology of apartheid. Highlight how poorly black police officers were generally treated during apartheid. They were not expected to be literate, were not allowed to arrest whites and could only work within strict parameters, usually under white supervision. Typically, black officers received 30% less pay than their white counterparts of the same rank, had no career structure. It was not until 1978 that black officers could wear the same uniform as their white colleagues. It was only in 1980 that the first black station commissioner was appointed. The situation was similar for coloreds and black employees. During 1980, the SAP started recruiting ever larger numbers of black officers. During this time, the anti-apartheid movement grew increasingly and demonstrated stronger, and the state waged a violent and repressive battle to maintain control. Black officers were then largely recruited into policing roles that precluded them from operating as fully-fledged members of South African police. The thousands of black people recruited under this scheme required no educational qualifications, were provided with minimal firearms training, functional blue overalls, and were tasked with foot patrol and riot control. They were created with the intention of providing very cheap labor to SAP and were therefore legally defined as temporary labor. Did you say, how many minutes? Okay. While police ranks are overwhelmingly dominated by men, the research found encouraging signs that gender dynamics are changing. This because the ANC-led government policy intervention to promote diversity and transformation. As is the case in police organizations worldwide, police women face particular challenges in SAPs. Most of these challenges are as a result of gender prejudice held by male officers who do not believe that females are suitable for the more dangerous aspects of policing aspects. In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, not as yet. In those times, Honorable Chairperson, when this side would
House
see
Chair.
a police station.
House Chair, on a point of order.
Why is there any?
House Chair, I'm rising on a point of order. There was a remark thrown across the floor from the other side of the House, calling one of our members a whitey. Bengicela ukubuza, is that language that is considered parliamentary, given the rulings about racial epithets?
Can you point the member?
Right over there, House Chair.
Who's that?
Right there.
No, Chair.
Ngicela umbuze ukuthi uyishilo leyo nto. Mbuzo yena.
Chair. Point of order, Chair.
Identify.
Yes.
Identify.
Point of order.
Igama lakhe angilazi kodwa uhlezi la ekuleli bench la.
Chair. Chairperson. Chairperson.
Order.
Chairperson.
No, let me just attend to the.
I heard what the member said.
Yes, I'll come to
I heard what the member said.
Yes, I'm saying is I just want to identify the member in question. So,
But can I
who's the
clarify
member?
what the member said, Chair? Chair.
No, you're just pointing across, but you must identify so that
The
I'm
member was
able to
talking about
identify.
white sugar. He never said members of parliament. The member said white sugar.
No, it's honorable members. Honorable members.
The member never
Order.
said that. Okay,
Order.
White sugar.
Order.
She said,
Order.
No, Chair. She
Order,
spoke
honorable
about
member.
white sugar. There was never white people.
Fine. Order.
She said
Order,
the
honorable
speech
member.
has a white sugar on it.
Yeah, just take your
The
seat.
speech has a white sugar.
Thank you. Just take your seat. Honorable Marke, can you proceed?
In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, whilst most of us...
Chairperson.
Order.
can I ask
Order,
you to please make a
why,
ruling?
why are you rising?
I want to identify the person that has made that remark. It's this young lady in the front, the big one with the duke.
Order, honorable members.
Person, this lady in the front with the black
Honorable
striped
member,
shirt.
just take your seat.
No, I'm identifying
Please
the lady.
just take your seat.
I'm identifying the lady.
Take your seat.
Oh, I'm a
Honorable member, just take your seat. Honorable member, just take your seat. Honorable member, just take your seat. I have asked the relevant member to identify the person. He could not. Then I have gone past that particular point of order. Thank you. Just take your seat, honorable member. Order. Order, honorable members. Why are you rising, honorable member?
No, Chair, I was writing on rule number 84. That even if whatever the member they're assuming she said, but you cannot call somebody that lady, that woman, that new in
Order,
the house.
thank you.
This is the house.
Thank you. Honorable members, I've already dismissed that point of order. Can you allow us to move on? Honorable Mage, just round up.
In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, whilst most of us within the African National Congress will take a detour when we see a police station during apartheid era, a detour that might even take 10 kilometers away from the police station. A lady, should I say white lady, would go directly into the police station and call her protectors the K-word. Honorable Chairperson, what does that tell you? I don't think I like her face. She's a monster, a dinosaur belonging to the Stone Age. ANC supports.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. We now call upon the Minister of Police to respond to your debate.
Chairperson, I will take 1 minute to respond. One, I will accept the invitation from Honorable Member Groenewald to sit down and talk. Two, I would urge Honorable Member Babumpele from the DA to go and read the speech. Everything he spoke about was prepared before the speech, and the speech answered everything he said. So I would urge him to go and read the speech, because nothing new, really. He did not deviate from the speech that he has prepared before I spoke. Thirdly, at the present moment, we haven't reached the stage where we need South African National Defence Force members. As a South African police, we will be equal. Sorry, maybe we can explain further about Operation Thunder that is here, where we have brought 270 members of this, with a very specialized units to come and deal with the matter. Babumtlong, you spoke about promoted members. Maybe, unfortunately, I did not read before you came here. The police will review its career progression measures and will implement appropriate action to address the current backlog in the upward progression of the lower level Police Act personnel to a higher grade, salary level, within a defined career path, with the employee acquiring and demonstrating the required competence. There is currently a backlog in the grade progression of employees between level 5 and 7, about 69,219 people that are overdue. Members with these grades are long overdue for progression consideration. Chairperson, allow me to outline enlistment grade progression. We will be promoting 3,500 police on the competitive measure, where they will apply for the higher grades to be promoted. That will also take 600 members that are not members of the Police Act. But Chairperson, we will put this in 3 financial years, promoting those that have been in a level certain level for a long time, having not been promoted for many years. Those will be 69,000 I've spoken about. But this financial year, we'll promote 28,000 of them. And next financial year, and the other one will finish the whole lot. So there will be 28,000 people that will be promoted, especially from constables to sergeant, and from sergeants to warrant officers, so that they can be able to progress in life. I don't know why they've been stagnant all the time, but they will progress in life. So above that, the addition 914 members from the specialized units, namely the Special Task Force, TROT, and Intervention Unit, including the commencement level of the public service personnel, will be regraded, which means those that are in the specialized units will start on a higher level than normally where others will start. Because after training, they still go for specialization. So which means put them up a little bit. So that's what will happen with the personnel come this year going forward. We will make sure that 70% of vehicles are always on the road and only 30% that are on the garage, so that we keep them moving. And then we will be also improving the police station. For instance, we are opening 3 police stations. That is Umkasa Police Station, Flagstaff Police Station, Kwamhlushwa Police Station. So there will be better life for the members of the South African Police going forward. For now, I would like to thank everybody I work with, all entities, but lastly, big time to thank my beautiful wife, Umangobo, who is seated up there and who keeps me going together with the family and our kids. But to thank the members of the South African Police on top of every other thing. It's not you saying it was my wife, it's Mangobo, my wife. On top of everything, Chairperson.
Order.
Cha ngiyancoma nje
Order,
Ndosi
honorable
ukuthi she's
members.
beautiful and young. Ngiyancoma.
Thank you. Take your seat.
On top of everything that has been said by the police, the prisons are full above the capacity. And not a single prisoner that marches to prison. They are all sent by these members you see there. So they are doing their job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, honorable members. Let's thank the minister and the deputy minister for leading this debate, and the members that participated in the debate, and all members that attended this budget vote, and our guests. That concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise. Thank you.